Okay, welcome back. The last video, Unit 3, accidentally clicked off the camera, and so you're not required to have a special code for that one. I wasn't quite finished. This is Unit 3 videos, and we'll go into Unit 4. I'll name the files appropriate once we get finished with this particular video. So we talked a little bit about braking previously, and the three phases of braking, stopping, things like that, and backing up. Here are some of the videos that are along with that unit. They're not very long. Should be able to go to Unit 4 afterwards. Thank you, and we'll continue on with this lesson.
And either the foot or parking brake is applied. Then we turn the ignition key clockwise until we hear the starter turn. When we hear the engine start, we release it right away. Otherwise, it could damage the starter. We're ready to go. With the right foot on the brake, we move the shift lever directly to drive. In most cars, the lever won't budge unless the brake is applied. Then we release the parking brake and gently depress the accelerator. We keep the heel on the floor and press down gradually with the toes. As the car begins to move, we can gently press down a little more until we are accelerating at a comfortable rate. When we reach the speed we want, we ease up on the accelerator until we are just holding that speed.
So like I said, these videos are very short.
Steering. It all starts with the grip. With the hands on opposite sides of the wheel, we can turn it without changing our grip. Most of the time, we can steer with the hands in this position, following the road. Changing lanes. Handling curves. Even swerving when we have to. Turns are something else. For gentle turns, we use push-pull steering. One hand pushes up, the other pulls down. For sharper turns, the hand-over-hand technique is best. Different cars steer differently. Each car has its own feel that takes a little getting used to. It's best to drive slowly while we're feeling out a car.
That's any car. Just be careful.
Some lane changes are a little more difficult. For example, leaving the curb to enter a lane of travel. Because it will take time to get on the road and up to speed, we need a clear lane for some distance back. But from inside the car, we can't see that lane very well. The left mirror doesn't show enough of it. Here, we need to turn around and get a good look. Looks okay now. Uh-oh, people on bikes can be hard to see, particularly near the edge of the road. At last.
Okay, so we know how to make the car go, and go where we want. Now, how do we bring it to a stop? Well, that's one way. Causes a lot of wear to the brakes, though, to say nothing of the passengers. The key to smooth stopping is looking far enough ahead to begin slowing early. Ease up on the accelerator. Apply the brake gently at first and increase pressure gradually until the car is slowing as much as we want it to. Then, easing up on the brake just before coming to a stop will make for a smooth stop. While we're stopped, we keep the foot on the brake so the car won't move forward. It also keeps the brake lights on so cars coming up from behind can see that we're stopped. And if we should ever be struck from behind, the brakes may keep us from being pushed out into traffic. The transmission is still in drive, so when we're ready to go again, we repeat the process. Home again. Now just a few steps to make sure the car doesn't run away without us. After we stop, we set the parking brake and put the shift lever in park. We do this right away so that our mind connects stopping the car with the shift to park. Now we can turn the engine off. Trip over. Not quite. This too should be automatic. Now the trip is over.
Okay, that was. I think that might be all of. There's one more for Unit 3.
Now to a more difficult maneuver. It's a bit tricky and can be dangerous. First, we need to be able to see where we're going. The only way to get a good view of the area behind the car is to turn around and look at it. We place the left hand at 12 o'clock on the steering wheel, the right hand over the back of the passenger seat, and twist around to see straight through the rear window. We want to go very slowly. It's harder to see, and the car is harder to control. We just slip the transmission into reverse and let the engine idle the car backward. We'll go plenty fast enough, and it leaves the right foot free to use the brake. To back in a straight line, we can imagine a point directly behind us and adjust the steering to back toward it. In reverse, the car will turn in the direction the steering wheel is turned, just like going forward. To back that direction, turn the wheel in the same direction. To turn that direction, turn the wheel that direction. While the car steers the same in both directions, there is one difference. The car is now being steered by the front wheels. When we back, it's really the front end of the car that's turning. The back goes left because the front swings right, sort of like a wagging tail. While we need to see behind us, it pays to stop for a moment to see what the front end is doing. This is especially true when backing out of a parking space. As long as we're moving slowly, we'll have time to make corrections. Some cars are not as quick to stop going backward. We need to allow for that and start braking a little earlier. Having to look over the right shoulder makes us blind to anything coming from our left. While we're stopped, we need to take a good look. No one coming.
Okay, we just now finished Unit 3. We'll go on to Unit 4. Okay, Unit 4, Day 2. Traffic control devices and laws. We'll learn about the purpose of traffic control devices, traffic signals, traffic signal lights, pavement markings, specific laws pertaining to traffic signs, signals, and pavement markings. Traffic control devices. They help ensure highway safety. They tell the drivers where they are, where they're going, and how to get there. They provide information on laws, dangers in the roadway. Here's a few of them. Colors as far as you can see. Unfortunately, it's probably not good quality as far as from the camera. Obviously, red is prohibited. As I mentioned earlier in one of the previous videos, blue is service signs like gas stations, hotels, restaurants, hospitals, anything like that. Green signs guide you whether this is an exit or how far a certain city is from where you're at. Yellow is warning or caution. Orange is construction, road work, road maintenance. Black is regulatory, white is regulatory. Brown, once again, is like recreation and culture interest. It could be state parks, historical sites, things like that. Fluorescent yellow, school zones, school crossing, pedestrian crossing. And fluorescent pink, that's incident signs. That could be a hurricane coming through and it's flooding, or a tractor trailer spill chemicals and things like that. It could be a host of reasons, but rarely you see these signs, these colors. Here's some of the shapes, majority of the shapes. As you can see, octagon, stop, triangle, yield, diamond, warning, pentagon, school, pennant, no passing zone, horizontal rectangle, directions, vertical rectangle, indicates law. I guess it could be speed limit sign, something like that. Round, railroad crossing, of course the crossbuck or the X, railroad crossing. This way you can see the shapes of the signs, and you know the triangle is already a yield. So if you can't technically see the wording, you can know by the sign. This is kind of a review what we talked about in the previous videos. Regulatory signs, laws, specific laws to obey. Excuse me. Regulates the speed and movement of traffic. Usually they're rectangular in shape. They're red, white, white and black, or red, white and black, depending. Here's a few of them. I think they're pretty much standard. Warning signs or caution. Possible danger ahead. Mostly diamond shaped, yellow and black in color. Some are fluorescent, just like we talked about the school. Here's some others. All these look pretty bright, so I think they're pretty much self-explanatory there. You're not going to be required to know all of them. Here's some more warning signs. Chevron, sharp curve. Usually with chevrons, if it's a sharp curve that they're using chevrons, usually there's 4, 5, or 6 of them help guide you around the curve. Of course, railroad crossing signs and gates. road construction or just construction in general. Once again, like I said earlier, school buses and road construction, things like that. Be super careful around. They're usually rectangular diamonds, in shape and orange in color. Here's a few of them. I don't know if I've ever seen tar before. I've seen the rest of them, I think. Guide signs guide the drivers to the destination by identifying the routes well in advance. So if you're wanting to get off on exit 27 on a highway, and it's a certain town, they may tell you in 20 miles to get off on exit 20 to go to that town. So they give you good bit of warning. Green signs, destination, as I mentioned, culture points, brown, blue service, as I mentioned. Here's a few. The phone one is for phone booths. They quit making those and distributing those out. So if you do see one, take a picture of it. Those are rare. Mile marker, that tells you how far you are to the state line. So if you're at exit 25, mile marker 25. Before cell phones, that was a big help. Before really GPS, you could call someone and say, "Hey, I'm at mile marker 25. I've got car trouble or whatever." Here's that temporary incident signs. Road user incident, natural disaster. I think I saw one time a couple years back. We had a big hurricane off the coast of North Carolina, and some of the news reports showed some of the hot fluorescent peak signs, hazard spill, just anything unplanned. Here's a few of those. They're pretty much standard for what you're used to seeing. Traffic lights, traffic signals. Steady red, obviously stop. Steady yellow, start slowing down, prepare to stop, because your next thing will be red. Steady green, go and proceed as caution. If somebody's in the intersection and it turns green, you gotta let them get out of the intersection. Just because it's green, you gotta let them get out. Flashing red, this would be kind of a caution sign, or a caution light. You stop, yield, and then if the intersection's clear, then you proceed on. Flashing yellow, you slow down. Proceed with caution. You don't really have to stop or anything. Just kind of slow down a little bit just to make sure the intersection is clear for you. Red arrow, you can't go, just hit stop as usual. Yellow arrow, prepare to stop. You're just going to turn red. A green arrow, or a protected arrow, or protected lane, however you want to say it, you can safely turn in the direction you're wanting to go in the arrow. So if you're turning left, then you don't have to worry about yielding to any oncoming traffic, because they will be at red and you will be at green, the green arrow. Now if it was just a solid green, you would have to yield right away if you were turning left to any oncoming traffic. Pedestrian signal, there's a good number of them. I think one of the towns that I saw recently, their traffic signals talk to you and count off the seconds for you and talk to you. Yellow lines separate traffic in opposite direction. Okay, that's key. Opposite direction. And the marks left, when here's yellow, we've seen this a million times. If it's a double yellow line, neither direction can pass. If it's a dotted line, both directions can pass, only when it's permitted. If it's clear, then you could pass. And then the third one, it's hard to see, but the left hand side of the road has a solid yellow. The right hand side has a dotted yellow. The right hand side, if it's clear, can pass, but yet the left hand side has a solid yellow, so they cannot pass. Here's some more yellow lines you see on a 4-lane road or a multi-lane one-way. A shared turn lane has yellow lines divided into two directions. White lanes separate traffic going in the same direction. Once again, one direction, dotted line. Also, too, you have stop lines, crosswalks, and then unmarked crosswalks. What you're looking to do is stop behind the stop line first, and if there's not one, then obviously stop behind the stop sign. You cannot, and I repeat, stop in the crosswalk. You have to be behind the stop line or the stop sign, depending. Obviously, dotted lines on the last one have arrows going turn right, turn left, whatever. Shared turn lane. There's several of them out here in North Carolina. Basically, what you're trying to do is get over to the left-hand side, all the way over into the middle, and then you're turning, to look to turn left to get off the highway or the road. This helps prevent traffic buildup because on both ways, that way you can, one person can turn left and the other side can turn left as well. Reversible lanes. You see more of these at like sporting events, coliseums, pavilions type things, where concerts happen, things like that. Basically, the signals dictate the flow of the traffic. If it's a green arrow, then you're permitted to drive just like a regular lane. If it's a red X, you need to get out quickly. It's closed to you and your side. A steady yellow, you need to start getting out, vacate the lane, because it'll soon be red. A flashing X means you can turn left. It's a turn lane, just like a regular turn lane you can turn left in. HOV lanes, some of the bigger cities have more. It's reserved for people who have more than one person, carpool line type thing. Obviously, railroad crossings, school zones. You've all seen the handicap parking, curb markings, multi-lanes turning in one direction, things like that. We've learned a little bit about the purpose of traffic control devices, the color, shapes, and meaning of these traffic signs, the meaning of the control signs or control signals, the meaning of pavement markings and things like that. Let's get to the videos.
Sometimes you can play the game really well, but if you don't follow the rules, you lose. It's the same way with driving. Break the rules, and you pay, sometimes dearly. So before we get to the finer points of safe driving practices, let's go over the basic rules. They weren't made up yesterday. They are based on over a half-century of experience with roads, the cars that drive on them, the people who drive the cars, and with what happens when things go wrong. Rules of the road cover signals, signs, pavement markings, and some rules for how we use the road. If everyone went in the same direction at the same speed, we might not need rules. But people want to go in different directions at different speeds. One way of keeping things under control is the use of traffic control devices. Everyone knows what this means. Go. This light lets us turn in any direction we want. However, if we want to turn left, we'll have to yield to any oncoming traffic. This says that we can turn left without worrying about oncoming cars. And this means stop, and stay stopped until it says go. At most intersections, it is okay to make a right turn after making a complete stop and making sure that no one is coming. Except where there is a sign prohibiting it. What about this? No, it doesn't mean speed up and try to get through before it turns red. In some places, we can be ticketed for being in the intersection when the light turns red. Yellow means caution, or stop unless we're too close to the intersection to stop and can easily make it through on the yellow. This means that we can turn in the direction of the arrow with caution. It usually appears just as a green arrow is ending, and we need to give way to any oncoming cars. This means that we can go through the intersection, but we need to look out for cars on the cross street who usually have this, which means stop, but then proceed if no one is coming on the cross street. Another way of controlling traffic is with signs that regulate it. This means the same thing as a flashing red light. A stop sign is always red and has 8 sides. It requires coming to a complete stop and staying stopped until the way is clear. Cars on the main road and pedestrians crossing the road have the right of way. Even if we've had to stop earlier, we still have to stop when we reach the sign. Some intersections have a 4-way stop, meaning that both streets have stop signs. The rule here is that the first car to stop is the first car to go. A complete stop means a complete stop. Rolling through a stop sign is a violation. It counts as much as a speeding ticket, and millions are written each year. This is a yield sign. We can tell by the triangular shape even before we can read it. Like a stop sign, it says we have to yield to vehicles on the street that we are approaching. But if no one is coming, we can continue without having to stop. This is a symbol that appears on signs to tell us things we cannot do, like no left turn, or no right turn, or no U-turn. This says that we can't go straight ahead. This sign tells us when traffic on a cross street is permitted in one direction only. Drivers have been known to overlook them.
Okay, disregard what the narrator said, and disregard seeing the one-way street sign, the black one, and do not enter sign. I hope you can see the street. I'm just trying to quiz you a little bit. How would you know if you didn't see those 2 signs and you're in a car? How would you know this is a one-way street? First of all, how you would know, I don't know if you can see my cursor, the car to your right is facing the wrong way. So he would be at fault. He needs to be facing the other direction. If he wants to be facing this direction, it was a two-way road, he would need to be parked on the other side. Okay, that's one clue. The next clue is if you look, all the street signs, it's hard to see. This one in particular, you can see a little bit better. it's facing the other way. And there's no street signs on the right hand side at all. Okay? So that's how you would know if by chance you went on a one-way street, and sometimes that happens. And you kind of get embarrassed and scared that you may have hit something or something like that. But just be careful, pay attention to the signs, and you should be fine.
with embarrassing results. This pennant-shaped sign is sometimes used to mark no passing zones. It's usually on the left side of the road so that our view won't be blocked by the car ahead. These signs say which lanes let us go in which direction. This sign regulates speed. Any faster than 35 and we risk a ticket. Signs can also warn us of danger. Most are yellow, which generally means caution, and are diamond-shaped. They have symbols that warn of certain dangers ahead, such as curves in the road, including sharp curves, crossroads, traffic signals, where the road is about to divide, where the one-way street we're on is about to become two-way, where we merge with traffic on the main road, where other traffic merges with us, where the right lane is about to end, and places where pedestrians may cross. This warning sign is shaped like a house and tells us that we're entering a zone where there are likely to be children, like schools and playgrounds. This one tells us where they may cross the street. Some school zone signs flash warnings of lowered speed limits at certain times. What do you suppose this means? Right, the road can be slippery when it's wet. There are many other signs with symbols like these. Most are pretty easy to understand. Orange signs warn of construction zones. People who have to work close to passing traffic require and deserve our close attention. These signs warn of railroad crossings ahead. We're there. Some of these cross bucks have signs saying how many tracks there are. Some signs aren't intended to control traffic, but just give us information, such as which route we're on, and where routes go. Blue signs generally tell us about services. Brown signs generally tell us about places of interest. Another form of traffic control is pavement markings. These mark the edge of the road. White lines separate lanes going in the same direction. We can cross these dashed lines if we need to, but we shouldn't cross these. Yellow lines separate lanes going in opposite directions. We can cross a dashed line to pass another car if there is no oncoming traffic, but we can't cross these. We can't pass here because the solid line is on our side of the road. Now we can. Some lines run across the road. If we have to stop for a red light or stop sign, this line tells us where. And this crosswalk is reserved for pedestrians. It is illegal to enter it if someone is walking or about to walk across it. These are reversible lanes. They allow traffic in different directions at different times and on certain days. Sometimes the times appear on signs. Sometimes it's done with lights. The green arrow indicates lanes that we can use. The red X indicates lanes that we can't. This is like a yellow light. It means that the lane is changing from a green to a red X. A flashing yellow X.
By the way, the special code for this video, day 2, Unit 4, 3 and 4 is ABC 1999. ABC 1999.
Is a lane reserved for turning. This indicates a center lane for left turns to be shared by traffic from both directions. We can enter only at the point we plan to turn, such as a shopping center on the left. There are some basic rules covering who must yield the right of way to whom. First, cars must always yield to pedestrians legally crossing the street. Cars crossing sidewalks must yield to pedestrians on them. Cars turning left must yield to oncoming cars going straight ahead. The car behind must yield to the car ahead, regardless of how quickly it stops. Cars entering or crossing a main road must yield to cars traveling on it. Cars must yield to emergency vehicles with flashing red or blue lights, whether they are approaching from the front or from behind. We need to pull as far off the road as possible. Emergency vehicles need lots of room to maneuver. Finally, cars must yield to school buses stopped to drop off or pick up children. Cars on the other side of the road must stop as well, unless it is a divided highway. And cars must remain stopped as long as the bus is there. Children may cross in front of the bus. There are some rules that regulate the lanes that we can use. Travel lanes are to travel in. It's against the law to stop because we're confused, or want to let out a passenger, or we're having car trouble. Drivers behind won't expect it. If we have to stop, we pull off the road.
Why is this illegal? I don't understand what they're saying, but I do understand what you're saying, but this is an intersection. You never stop at an intersection. The person probably needed to park right here or wait till they get past this trailer or truck and then park in front of the trailer or truck.
Backing in a travel lane is worse than stopping. It's illegal and very unsafe. If we miss a turn, we keep on going to the next street or exit. When we're on roads with more than one lane, we drive in the right lanes and save the left lane for passing. Well, we're finished for the day. No more rules of the road. Well, not exactly. There are rules for parking too. First, get close to the curb, well out of the traffic stream, no more than 2 feet from the curb. Check for signs that limit where and when we may park. Avoid parking near the corner or on a crosswalk. There's usually a sign or painted curb marking. And keep a good distance away from stop signs, as well as fire hydrants. There's usually a sign or curb marking showing where parking is prohibited. Many cities and states have their own individual rules. We can generally find out about these by looking closely at signs posted near where we plan to park. If we don't, we could be in for an unpleasant surprise.
Welcome back to day 2, Unit 4, 3 and 4. Be sure to send an email for those who are my students. Email telling me which videos you've watched and the secret special code and the time you finish watching these videos. Look forward to the next video with you guys and our quest to finish out this course. Hopefully you've learned something today and continue on. The main thing is to be careful. And that's all the number one priority. Thank you and have a great day.